There are some key features of these programs which I'm supposed to talk about. They are very important to talk about. These features are what will make this training experience a unique one for you, or as the slide says, feature that will make this the best training experience for you. And it also applies for online programs, and it also applies for face-to-face programs. What are these features? Now, though we are calling it features, but they are actually very important concepts. They have involved certain concepts also. There's a philosophy behind those features, and so it is the philosophy that we want to explain. The advantage of discussing these features is it clarifies many things in your mind and prepares you for the methodology we will follow, for the concepts we are going to cover, and so that you can feel some meaning in them, because we'll discuss the meaning now, today, as a part of the introduction. Not discussing these issues will lead to substantial, unnecessary discussion during the main class sessions or the program sessions. So we recommend that you become familiar with these features or these aspects even before you register for the program, but definitely at the beginning of the program. These slides, this particular slide or this particular presentation is there on our website. It is made available to every prospective participant for the programs. Feature number 1. These training programs are usually conducted in small training groups. Our target is class size of 5 participants per instructor. The reason for having 5 is we want to create a real customized learning experience for you. We want to address your specific job related needs. On online training, we try to restrict the number of participants instructed by an instructor at any one time. The aim of having these small groups is to address your specific job related needs. As we try to make these programs practically useful, we have to customize them. We have to make sure that the program spends more time on those issues that are important to you, to your work. Feature number 2 is that these programs provide you a multidisciplinary look at the issues. Well, we did talk about that in our initial slides also, but it is so important and I need to go a little bit maybe deeper into it. This multidisciplinary aspect is a unique aspect of your training programs. And remember why we do it? Because it tells you what you really need to consider when you are making decisions on your work. What does multidiscipline mean? It means that when we are discussing any issue during this program or during any program that you will attend at Aero Training, we will take into account viewpoints including technology, what is the technologies available, IT automation, data analytics, business intelligence aspects, if relevant. Now these aspects we are going to consider if relevant. Management concerns. Generally, management concerns is about cost, about strategic aspects, strategy contributions. So management concerns we must consider as a part of a multidisciplinary understanding. We must take into account audit concerns. As we discussed before, the auditors will come later on and want to know why we do it like this, why we didn't follow the procedure or standard operating procedures. We need to consider quality aspects, and as we did mention before, when we use the word quality in any of our programs in Aero Training, what we mean is customer satisfaction. But the formal definition of quality is quality of a product or a service is all those features that the customer wants. should be there in the features, in the product or the service. So that's why we say customer satisfaction. All those features that lead to customer satisfaction. So features could be in a product or could be in a service. When we are discussing any issue, we take into account the productivity impact. When you make a proposal, or when you make a proposal on how you want to proceed with the work, your solution may be very nice technically or otherwise, but if it leads to lower productivity on the job, then probably it's not really a good idea for the organization. So any solution you suggest, you must consider productivity aspect. That's the multidisciplinary aspect. When we are discussing any issues on this, any issue related to the program, we will also take into account safety issues, security issues, loss prevention issues to the extent relevant. We will take into account contractual and legal aspects relevant to the work that we are, the issue that we are discussing. We'll take into account cost benefit and VE, value engineering. Value engineering is a very important term for us in the programs, and we emphasize on that a lot. What does VE, value engineering, mean? Value engineering means trying to get the best value for your money, which means trying to look for innovative ways to reduce costs and increase productivity. Value engineering means trying to get more for the dollar you spend. We will talk about that in some subsequent slides. And another important multidisciplinary aspect is the bottom line, is the cost, and so on. So whenever we discuss any issue in any program, whatever the domain, we may consider these 10 and more aspects that might be relevant for that particular discipline. It's not that all these will be relevant every time, but many of them will be. Most training organizations do not have their focus, this as a part of their focus, or their competency is not there to provide you multidisciplinary training programs. But Year Training has developed that competency, and it has also made sure that this focus is going to stay there in all our programs. And remember why we need multidiscipline consideration, so that we can do a practical job, or otherwise your opinion will not be considered as well thought out. And remember, without multidisciplinary thinking or considerations, you start looking like a teenager. Your behavior starts looking like a teenager behavior. Next feature in our programs is that we incorporate in all our programs the good and the best industry practices. They communicate during each program. What are good practices and what are best practices, and what is the difference between them? Well, at the outset, the difference is very important. But also at the outset, I would like to say that there is no standard way professional publications differentiate between good and best practices. Often you will find in technical publications something is called a good practice, and in another publication it is called a best practice. But for us it is very important. These terms are very important, and so we need to define them. So for our programs, the definition is like this. Good practices are those practices that are required to be implemented because of recommendations of ISO 9001, good management system standards, relevant industry standards. Whatever work we are doing, is there any industry standard for that, and what does the standard require us to do? So we must be in compliance with the standard, and we must be in compliance with the laws and regulations that are applicable to the work that we are doing. So when we say we will apply good practices, it means that we will apply the recommendations of ISO 9001, the relevant industry standards and the relevant laws and regulations. Then what are best practices? For us, in our definition, best practices are the benchmarked, unique processes of successful organizations. What that means is, the best practices are those practices above and beyond the good practices that some organization somewhere in the world has applied very successfully and has worked for them. But it may or may not work for you. So best practices are those practices that leading organizations around the world might have applied them and it brought them a lot of success. Success may be market share, it could be lower cost, it could be higher productivity, it could be customer satisfaction, and so on. But those practices may not be applicable to everybody. Maybe an example would be nice at this stage about something which is a best practice and something is a good practice. As a good practice mentioned in ISO 9001 is that any initiative or anything you want to do in an organization, you must make sure you get management commitment for it, or your management should be committed to it. Then only that particular way of doing things will get done. It is very nice, common, everywhere. It is true that without management commitment, things cannot get done because management provides all the necessary support. Example of a best practice. Let me give you an example of a best practice that I have been hearing about for the last 40 years or more maybe. And this is something called just-in-time inventory management. Just-in-time inventory management. What this practice has been suggesting since the 1950s is that we should buy only when we need them. We should not maintain inventory. When we need them, we should buy them and place an order for delivery at the time, and the delivery should happen when we need it. So the time and in our inventory is minimized. Sounds interesting. Well, this methodology has been applied in the US auto industry for a long time, since the 1950s. Since the 1950s, there were assembly lines that were manufacturing thousands of cars every day or every week. And just imagine, many of these parts, components of these cars, were being outsourced from other suppliers in the US, all over the US. Let's say the car assembly was in Chicago, in the north of the United States, and some manufacturers or some components may be as far away as California. Now, if you are going to have a just-in-time inventory management, that means you place an order with a supplier based in, say, California, and you let your supplier know that this is our production schedule. We need 100 pieces of this, let's say, maybe 5,000 pieces of this every week to be delivered to the assembly line. And this manufacturer based in California would then plan his work, and he will make sure that his trucks depart from California a week before, assuming that is going to be a week for them to reach the place in Chicago, and will reach there in Chicago. Using this methodology, since the 1950s, most of the auto industry in the US has reported savings of millions of dollars in inventory costs, double handling costs, and other costs. Now, just imagine that if all these items were to be taken into inventory, and then every day inventory was issued from there and transported to the assembly line, how much effort would be involved? And if you do it as per the just-in-time inventory management system, then the supplier's trucks would back into the assembly line. They will offload the items in the assembly line. Of course, some safety stock will be maintained in the inventory, but most of the material is going to be offloaded at the assembly line, and no handling cost, no double handling costs are involved. And most of the auto industry players have reported savings of hundreds of millions of dollars every year through just following this practice of just-in-time inventory management. But think about it today, with the supply chains extending all the way from the US all the way to China and India and Europe, Eastern Europe. How much is the predictability or unpredictability in terms of how much time it will take for an item to be shipped from China or from India to reach the United States, Chicago? And how many times it has passed through customs and other transit points? With the effect that in many industries, in most industries, I should say, just in time is simply not feasible. So even though it is a best practice, it was a best practice if you look at those major auto manufacturers, but for the rest of the industries, other industries, it is not really feasible. And even for auto industries in other parts of the world, it may not be feasible, particularly where the assembly lines are very long, where the supply chains are very long, and items have to be shipped from a long distance. So again, definition of best practice. Best practices are practices that have been tried somewhere in the world by leading companies, which has brought them huge amount of savings or fame or profits or market share, but these best practices may or may not be applicable to your organization. Many times it happens that these best practices over a period of time translate into good practices, and they get included into industry standards or ISO 9001 requirements or laws and regulations. Yeah, that is the natural process. So many times these best practices arise, then over the years they slowly get transferred into relevant industry standards and laws, and then they become good practices. But then on the other side, there are many best practices that never really get standardized. They always stay as a best practice. And best practice ideas are great ideas, but you have to take them with a pinch of salt. So it's very important for us to differentiate between a good practice and a best practice for our programs. And what it means to your thinking is, next time somebody suggests to you a new idea, a new method, the first question that should come to your mind is it a good practice he's talking about, or is it a best practice? And if it's a good practice, then the person who is giving you the idea has to show that the origins of this idea or the recommendation for the idea is coming from either from ISO 9001 or from relevant industry standard or from the laws and regulations. If you can, or other standards. If you cannot show us that link, it is not a good practice. It may probably be classified as a best practice. And the thing about the best practice is we have to analyze it very carefully and very deeply and in great detail before we adopt it, because it may or may not work for your organization. There might be some roadblocks which prevent it from universal application. And if there are no roadblocks, or you can remove those roadblocks, yes, sure, it will be a good idea for you to implement. These good practices and best practices have been researched and benchmarked by Yale Training, and they are communicated to you during all our programs. So for every program, every domain, we look at the good practices and the best practices. Research has been done, and we communicate them during our program. It provides you a powerful tool in your hand to know about your industry's good practices and best practices. Another feature of our programs is we follow a checklist approach. What does it mean? Checklist approach means that for each topic we discuss, we introduce or develop a checklist of factors that you must consider before taking a decision. So This is these checklists. So we have made this checklist, or we will develop this checklist during the programs. What is the advantage of using this approach of checklist? The advantage is it makes it easy to understand. That is, you look at the checklist and you say, okay, if I am faced with this decision, these are the factors I must consider, or these are disciplines I must consider. These factors, checklist items, are more than disciplines. Each discipline may contribute more than one item on the list of checklists. But yes, the checklist is the basic raw material for the checklist is the disciplines, the relevant disciplines related to the work, and the checklist items relate to the specific things in that discipline that must be checked or must be considered. So it makes it easy to understand the issue, and it also makes it easy to practically apply them. We give you copies of all these slides and all these checklists so that when you go back to your work and you are faced with such a decision of the same type or a similar type, you take out the checklist, and make sure you have considered all those aspects that you need to consider, including disciplinary aspect and more detailed aspect of the discipline. By the way, this approach is also in line with the quality assurance approach to prevent problems, to prevent mistakes, to prevent not having considered some discipline or some aspect of the problem. Another feature of our programs is to ensure that these programs are immediately practically applicable. We ensure that instructors are industry experts and practitioners who can provide you the practical know-how to get things done. So most instructors in aero training are industry experts and practitioners, people who have worked in the industry. Aero training does not use academic staff for conducting training programs. We do use academic staff to help us design the programs and to design the program contents and so on, but we do not use them to make presentation during training programs. Another feature of our programs is that we incorporate in these programs the latest winning technologies and methodologies. What are these? What that means is that in most programs we incorporate in them the latest IT technologies. IT has been changing the world for the last 20 years more and more. So whatever that is the domain area about which the training program you will be attending, we will consider, are there any IT technologies and IT tools available that you can utilize to make the work more productive or more customer oriented and so on. We will consider, and we always consider in all our programs, the data analytics and artificial intelligence issues related to the domain or the program that you are attending. Is there any data analytic method that can be utilized to make decisions proactive, real time, or are automated decisions possible through some artificial intelligence system? Can the artificial intelligence system be set up in that domain to provide decision support information or automated decisions and definitely real-time decisions? When we are in all our programs, so these data analytics and artificial intelligence might help you create real-time performance dashboards, can help you provide you real-time decision support information and automate the decision-making process. We also include the quality assurance methodology. What does quality assurance methodology mean? Well, we did define quality. We said quality means customer satisfaction. But the formal definition we said what quality means all those features of the product or service which have an impact on customer satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So quality is customer satisfaction. Quality assurance is how to be sure that we are going to provide quality each and every time. So definition of quality assurance is how to be sure. What is the method we have to follow to be sure that we'll meet customer expectations, needs and expectations each and every time. And methodology means the step-by-step method by which we can assure ourselves that be relaxed, we will provide quality or we meet customer expectations each and every time. So that is very important winning technology today and has been for a long time, and we make sure that we incorporate them in all our programs. And the improvement methodology. What is the improvement methodology? Well, let me put it like this. Everybody wants to make improvements. It is when you make improvements in your work area that you get recognition for the work that you are doing, more recognition for your work. But improvements is not so straightforward. You may have a great idea, but when you convert the idea into a proposal and submit it, one thing is not going to happen, that your colleagues are going to say, wow, great idea, let's implement it. In fact, what is likely to happen is the opposite of that. There will be what we call resistance to change. And people will tell you why it cannot be done. We call this resistance to change. But what we need to actually call it in our programs is not resistance to change. It is that multidisciplinary questions are being raised, or multidisciplinary concerns are being raised by the colleagues, and they need to be adequately answered. Won't it be a nice idea if when we made the proposal, we already considered those multidisciplinary concerns and already mentioned in the proposal how those concerns will be taken care of? If you had done that, then you will find less resistance to the proposal or more acceptability for your improvement proposal. All this and more is mentioned in our improvement methodology. Improvement methodology is a step-by-step process through which you must take an improvement idea to ensure that that you reduce or remove the usual known reasons why this idea may not get adopted, including ego issues that could arise. So that is a issue of detail. Another winning methodology is about case studies and stories we tell. You will notice in all our programs that we have a lot of case studies to discuss, stories to tell you relating to the domain. We did talk about 2 stories today. One was when we were trying to explain the multidisciplinary aspect. One was constructing the culvert. The other was the behavior of the teenager who wanted to go to a party. When we were talking about the best practice, we did mention about just-in-time inventory management and the story of that success of that best practice, or the success or not so wide success for that idea. Stories are a very important part of our programs. Stories are what you will remember after the program, what you will easily remember after the program. So we always consider that as a winning idea to be used in our programs. Another feature of our programs is that Year Training uses experienced instructors during all programs. Most instructors have 15+ years of industry experience, and they are generally not academicians. Academicians are not asked to make presentations during our training programs, except in very, very rare cases. Academicians are of course excellent in their domain expertise, But what about the other multidisciplinary areas? As we saw, one needs to know about. Experience may be lacking unless the academician has been involved in extensive consulting throughout his career. Yeah, if the academician has been involved in extensive consulting throughout his career, sure, he may have developed the multidisciplinary aspects. But otherwise, there could be a question mark about that. Academicians often lack the multidisciplinary perspective to the issues at hand. Therefore, they don't fit it with our system of practically useful training programs or multidisciplinary training programs. Another feature of our programs is that most of these programs are designed in modules, and you can attend these modules at different times. The modules is a way that we use to provide you this multidisciplinary understanding on various parts of the work. These modules for our online training programs, all our online training programs are divided into 4 modules. Introductory module, intermediate, advanced, and leadership. And what we do is we keep on increasing the disciplines in each of these modules. So in the first module, there will be certain disciplines. In the second module, more disciplines will be added. Third module, even more. And the final one, leadership, more ideas, more disciplines will be added there. So when you cover all these 4 modules, that is where we are able to saturate all the disciplines that you need to know about in order to be able to do a high-performing job in your organization. Similarly, in instructor-led training programs, we have these training programs which are in duration of 1 week to 4 weeks, and you can normally attend them in different durations. You attend 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time. And the 4 weeks is the full technology transfer time, or you can say when we transfer the know-how for all the disciplines related to that particular issue or domain, which is the subject matter of the training program. Another feature of the program is that we do customize the programs. The information that you are provided in your registration forms, information you have provided us in your registration forms, will be used to customize the day-to-day agenda for the programs. All design topics are covered. All the topics mentioned in the program, details on the brochure that you see on our website, all those topics will be covered, but the time allotted for each topic depends on this customization. Please feel free to request your instructor to incorporate additional related topics or request additional private sessions in the evening. If you have other disciplines that you are interested in, other aspects that you are interested in about the domain area, you can ask the instructor to please include those topics, or if it's not possible to include them in the regular sessions, he might give you some special sessions in the evening. Our instructors have the experience and the access to the resources to enable them to do this for you. So please feel free to ask for this additional customization and additional service from our instructors. And always remember, this is your program. Please feel free to raise any job related issues during the program, during the tea breaks, during the daily programs. And for online programs, you will be provided direct email and WhatsApp contact numbers of the instructor. So you can contact him anytime with any concern you may have or any other topic that you may have and you want that to be clarified. With that, we come to the end of this part of the introduction. Thank you. But the introduction continues. There are some more topics we must talk about to set the stage for the training program. But at the moment, take a cup of tea if you like, and we'll meet again. in a few minutes. Thank you. So I hope you are well rested, refreshed, mind clear, and let's move on with the second part of our introduction.